I heard that Confederate flag supporter Anthony Hervey, who happened to be black, was killed in a car accident. The accident occurred when he was harassed by other drivers for his Confederate sympathies. My condolences to Hervey and his family. But straight up, if he had love for this flag, then he lived and died for a lie.
I think what happened. Propaganda.
I'll remind you again, this flag was created and flown in battle by Democrats. The Confederacy was represented by Democrats. And the Constitution the Democrats took the liberty to draw up for themselves included their so-called right to keep blacks as slaves in clear language. For example, in all such territory, the institutions of Negro slavery, as it now exists in the Confederate States, shall be recognized and protected by Congress and by the territorial government and the inhabitants of the several Confederate states. And territory shall have the right to take to such territory any slaves lawfully held by them in any of the states or territories of the Confederate States. The Democrats drew up their own Constitution because the U.S. Constitution, despite what lefties try to tell you, does not support making property out of people. Proof of that is the fact that the Democrats drew up their own Constitution to represent the Confederacy so they can make property out of people, mainly blacks. And Anthony Hervey was waving their flag. Now I'm going to point you to some irony. I'll bet you that Anthony Hervey's car accident in the year 2015 was prompted by the harassment of another driver, and I'll bet you that the driver was a Democrat. You may say the driver probably didn't even care about politics. If he was harassing Hervey for his Confederate sympathies, then it was already political. I'll bet you that the driver supports Obama, which means he supports Democrats. And here it is, the angry driver harassed a man on the road, leading to his death because he was angry about a flag that the party he supports made. Oh, the irony. Democrats have been getting blacks to unwittingly kill other blacks over and under this flag for years. Nothing's changed. Democrats are still the same. Their self-righteousness has blinded them, and they walk back around in a circle being the same people they've always been, but think that they've changed just because a different song is playing. Hervey embraced a delusion, just like people who claim to be Republican voters while defending this flag, claiming its history and its heritage. Well, here's some history on that flag. Again, the history of that flag is that it's a flag for Democrats, enemies of Republicans. Democrats represented the Confederacy, and Democrats to this day still have a fetish for forcing someone to be subject to someone else. And it disgusts and embarrasses me that some Republican voters don't make the connection and proudly wave the flag of the enemy. Now, like our U.S. flag, the Confederate flag changed over time. Confederate supporter Nicola Marshall is credited as being the designer of the first Confederate national flag, the Stars and Bars. The flag would change because the Confederacy felt it looked too much like the Stars and Stripes. Reasons include that they didn't want their flag to be at all reminiscent of the Yankee flag, and because they didn't want any confusion when it came down to battle. So the second flag that the Democrats came up with to be the national flag of the Confederacy, also known as the Stainless Banner, is this one. It was the one designed by the Democrat William T. Thompson with assistance from Ross Postel. You'll notice the CBF is surrounded by a white field. Why is that? Well, let's see what the flag designer, Democrat William Thompson, says himself. As a people, we are fighting to maintain the heaven-ordained supremacy of the white man over the inferior or colored race. A white flag would thus be emblematical of our cause. He also says such a flag would soon take rank among the proudest ensigns of the nations and be hailed by the civilized world as the white man's flag. He even says, as a national emblem, it is significant of our higher cause, the cause of a superior race and a higher civilization, contending against ignorance, infidelity, and barbarism. Another merit in the new flag is that it bears no resemblance to the now infamous banner of the Yankee Vandals. It stands for heritage and history. Well, you know, heritage and history has to show something, right? You keep saying heritage and history. Well, heritage and history of what? You can't just take liberties with history and assign your own sentiments to it so it fits what's comfortable to you and demand other people accept it. Who do you think you are, Bruce Jenner? That is the history of that flag, taken right down to the Democrat who designed it, to represent a nation with a constitution that wanted to be slaveholders. When it came down to battle, the CBF was flown without the white field because they didn't want the stainless banner to imply a sign of surrender or truce. That's where you get the Confederate battle flag, a flag born of bigotry and the desire to have the liberty to deprive another of theirs. That is the Democrat way. I'm Alfonso Rachel with Zone Nation, and I don't at all condone someone being harassed for having the CBF. I hated that Anthony Hervey was harassed and it led to him losing his life. We keep saying things like, he stood up for what he believed in. Standing up for what you believe in isn't always a good thing. Standing up for the wrong beliefs isn't noble. And Republicans, I'm telling you, distance yourself from this flag. It is the flag of your enemy, and it will sabotage you. I get so sick of these so-called Republicans who say crap like, we have to distance ourselves from the abortion issue, we have to distance ourselves from the marriage issue, and distance ourselves from the faith issue because we'll lose. Yet you turn around and snuggle up to one of the most detrimental things to your party, which should be the very thing they distance themselves from, the flag of the enemy. It stands for heritage and history.